Here we have another inventory estimating method. This is extremely useful. I've used it lots and lots of times, and it's based on something called gross profit method. That's the name of it. And this method is, like I said, extremely good. It's a good way to ballpark your ending inventory. A lot of companies use this when they've got a problem, when they can't come up with another way to count their inventory. You can come up with a lot of theft. Insurance companies use this for losses. You can figure out how much theft is going on in your company with this kind of method. It's very useful. To understand this method, you have to understand the following things. For example, sales and cost of goods sold. And you should know that when you take sales and subtract cost of goods sold, you get something called gross profit. That's something you have to absolutely know how this works in order to understand this method. That sales minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. You also have to understand that sales, if you assume that sales, this figure in dollars is 100%, you have to figure that if you were given, for example, in this case, that the gross profit was 32%, then you have to also understand that this relationship is if sales are 100% and gross profit is whatever it is, then the cost of goods sold would be the difference. So in this case, if sales are 100%, gross profit is 32%, then the cost of goods sold percentage would be 68%. Understanding how these percentages relate to these three pieces is also extremely important. So now, given that we know these three things and how the percentages relate to each other, let's go through the problem and see if we can figure out. See, what do they want to know here? They want to know, use the gross profit method to estimate its cost of inventory at the end of the first quarter. So here we go. The way you come up with cost of goods sold is the following little set of things that came really from Chapter 5. Beginning inventory plus purchases equals goods available minus ending inventory. This little set of concepts are extremely important in understanding how to come up with the cost of goods sold. So we have the following things. We've got on January the 1st, JKR Company store had $310,000 of inventory at cost. So that's beginning inventory. In the first quarter of the year, it purchased $1,091,200 worth of merchandise, and that'll be purchases. But these purchases are not the net purchases. What this is, we're going to have to do some further calculating right here. So these are gross, you might say gross purchases. It says that they returned $11,950 worth of merchandise, so we'll subtract that off. It said they paid freight charges of $18,300, and that would be added there under freight in. And then let's see what else happened here. Terms were FOB shipping point, which means that as soon as they ordered the goods and they left the dock of the shipper, that means they were their goods. So we can now come up with net purchases. So net purchases are going to be $1,097,550, so that'll go in right here. Okay. We can now come up with goods available. So goods available will be the sum of these, the beginning inventory plus the net purchases. That'll be, well, hang on, we'll get that in just a second. They also told us that sales were $1,373,353, which we just plugged in that in. And like I said, now we can get goods available, which would be the beginning inventory, plus purchases, which would be $1,407,550. We're looking for ending inventory. We don't know what that is, so we have to put a blank there. But we now know enough. We know enough to find out the cost of goods sold, because we just said a minute ago that that relationship of sales to the cost of goods sold percentage, the gross profit percentage, all those things had to kind of these two pieces really had to equal sales. So we can figure out the cost of goods sold by taking 68% of the sales number, and when we do that, the cost of goods sold ends up being 933,880. And so if we now know the goods available and we now know the cost of goods sold, the difference between these two should give us our ending inventory. And our ending inventory in dollars will be 473,670. And let's see, are we done? We are done.